Can you turn that down? Thanks. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the Sit Downs, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about batch producing content. And to be honest, this is a kind of a subject that I've been wanting to dive into for a while because look, this is a batch. This video you're watching or this podcast you're listening to, whatever article you might have seen from me, pretty much anything I do these days is part of batch producing. And that came out of like gaming videos. Honestly, I used to make a lot of gaming videos, and it is hard to make gaming videos every day. So you make like 5 or 6 in a day, and then you don't have to make gaming videos except for one day that week. It just makes things easier because you can play for 10 matches at once, record them all, and then commentate over them later and produce them and let them out over a period of time, and then you can stay consistent a lot easier. That's the biggest benefit I'd say to batch producing content, is just consistency becomes almost effortless when you do this. But it is a lot of work up front. So you have to be very familiar with the process that you're going through before you can batch produce them. Like, don't make the first video ever part of a batch production unless you are planning to build them that way. Like Espresso. I will use this as an example because Espresso is a show that was built to be batch produced. So from the start, from the very first episode, the very first time I shot Espresso, I shot 4. I don't even know if the third one ever actually made it out or not. I'm sure it will at some point, but I shot 4 because I wanted to make sure that I could sit down and shoot 4 videos with scripts, and that they could be compiled together and released accordingly, and that it would actually work, and that the videos would be educational, that they would like hit the marks they needed to hit. So if you're looking, if you're like, hey, I run, I'll use my mom as an example. My mom wants to do a lot of stuff with cooking. She doesn't know whether she wants to start a channel. She wants to keep doing her Instagram. So what is the solution there? What does batch producing look like for somebody like that? Well, the best solution in my mind would be to batch produce like some recipes. So if you go through and you shoot the first part of, my cat is very interested in my light right now. Please don't mess it up. Anyway, so the best solution for that would be to go through and say make 8 recipes at once, and recipes take varying amounts of time, but you shoot the beginning of each one, and then you shoot the next step of each one, and you shoot the next step of each one, and then at the end of it, you've made 8 or 9 things, but you have a video after you stitch it together of each individual dish, or however you would like to play that out. So for my mom, yeah, there would be 9 or 10 30-second videos, that because we're gonna speed them up and like add the text of what you need for the recipe. And it'll take her 1 day of cooking, and now she has 8 videos, versus spending a whole day cooking and only filming 1 video, with almost the same amount of work, but with none of the preparation. So the real variable between batch producing and making content, I would say, is prep time. Like, you can make one-off, like you can make videos. You can make 1 video in say it takes you 8 hours, right? Then you could make version 2 of that video in 4 hours, and you could make version 3 in like 3 hours, and you can make version 4 in like 2. It'll never take you as long as the first one takes you. And from there, there's just, you definitely hit a stride. What is the term that I'm trying to think of? You ramp. Once you're ramped, you're ramped. So once you're fully, in the zone, and you've got your groove with producing, like for me, an espresso now will take 45 minutes to an hour. But the first one took me like 4. And like even with Ryan's vlog, I think the first video I did for Phone Wagon took me like 8 hours to edit. And by the end of it, it got to a point where I could produce them in 45 minutes, an hour. Like, it really got to a point where it was second nature. Granted, you can see in the episodes, if you go look back, they are very similar day to day. It was definitely a rhythm that I was in, and so like whether that was wrong or right, it was still what it wound up being. It was still, it's still a good example for this. But the thing that I want to hammer home with like batching is if you're on YouTube, if you're trying to put out content and you want to be consistent, and you find it hard to be consistent, batching is a really good way to do that. Because for me personally, with this whole batch, there's I think there's 36 videos total, and then there's 112 Instagram or 116 Instagrams, and then there's 8 special social media only shows. And so there's a lot of things in this particular batch that I've done by themselves in little batches before. For example, like one of the things that I'm doing is Sky Day, which is a show that goes out on Sundays that is literally a drone shot with an opening credit, basically. And that goes out on social media channels every Sunday, right? Yeah, Sunday. And so I did a batch of those before. I think I did 4 or 5 of those before, and then now I'm doing 8 at once. And so but I would never have been able to do like 8 to 10 to 20 or 116 Instagrams or 16 Instagram stories, any of the stuff that I'm actually doing, if I hadn't like literally sat there and built one from scratch and learned the process and then, tried to scale it. And when you scale these processes, you have to understand that you're going to lose out on quality. You're going to lose out in places. Like if I made every one of the 36 videos that I'm making or I think it's 36, individually, the videos would undoubtedly be miles better. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the best possible piece of content. I'm looking to be consistent and to consistently drop value in a given niche. So I put the time in to storyboard that out. I put the time in to, build my Trello boards and shoot all my B-roll accordingly and make sure I've got my shot lists written and scripts that correspond, because I have gotten halfway through without that kind of thing before. I have thought that I would be able to make up videos on the spot, and so just written like 1 or 2 words about them. And with this series in particular, actually, it's the hardest one for me to shoot because it's really just me talking. I have to just sit down and kind of come up with something to say on a 2 or 3 word. Like I think the entire preface for this one is, let me see, actually. Let me literally check my Trello board right now. Batch production content. That is the 3 words that are guiding this entire thing. Someone's like, this is not guided. What are you talking about? But listen, it's important. It's important to me to get this across because this is by far one of the biggest things that will help people who have the issue that I have, which is being able to wake up. It's difficult for me to be like, oh, it's Tuesday at 3. That means it's time to film. It's like, and you love structure. They can't see you. No, but she loves structure. And so for her, if she had to shoot every Tuesday at 3, that's probably the only way you could get her to shoot something. But for me, it's like, I don't want to. I'm not ready. I want coffee. I want to go here. I want to sleep. Even if like 20 minutes before I was like, maybe I should make a video, when I'm told by even former Kane that it's time to do something, I get like angsty. And so for me, it's a lot easier to just knuckle down for, a week or 2 weeks and make a big chunk of content and then be able to be a little scatterbrained for the next month and be able to like, I want to do this or do this or do this and have my content coming out on a regular schedule without me being worried about it. You know what I mean? I don't have to say no to gigs because I need to make this video or vice versa. There's not a video that doesn't go up because a client was like, hey, I need this. So yeah, I feel like through the course of this, this light has gone drastically down. Like maybe if I just sat a little further back, but I feel like this light is gone. People in the audio version are like, what are you talking about? I have very heavy shadows, okay? But yeah, so it's, if you're gonna take anything out of this, I would say, if you're thinking of batch producing some content, start with making 4 videos. Just start with 4. If you're making videos kind of like this or kind of like some of the other videos that go up, like my recipe straight up is 2 different stages of B-roll, A-roll, graphics. So that is my entire approach to the shows like Espresso and Worth It Wednesday. I think Worth It Wednesday actually has 3 stages, if I'm not mistaken. Just because I felt like I was going to be talking for longer. So those products actually have 3 different backgrounds. But for Espresso, because it's a shorter show, I don't need 6 different stages of B-roll. So I only had to make 2 sets. And it worked out. So I shot all of my, like I built set A and then went through my shot list because I had a shot list for everything that went there. And just went product by product, excuse me. Got my pan or whatever the fuck I did and moved to the next product, and then was like, okay, that's all of stage A. Went to stage B, did stage B, went to stage C, did stage C. And then now, which is the next day, I have shot all of the Worth It Wednesdays over at that setup over there, and then now we are shooting all of the, what is today? This is the sit-down stuff, right? This is the sit-down videos. Now we're doing all the sit-down videos. So it's really just about, you have to look at what you've done in the past and you have to know where things falter. Like, I know that during the course of this, I need to take breaks and drink water and take shots of espresso and really like, and listen to music in between. Like not too long ago, in between the shows, I played Power by Kanye West and kind of had to like sit here and dance because like, you got to keep your energy up. And it's difficult. It's really like, I'm sure you guys can tell. This show, compared to if you watch Worth It Wednesday in its entirety, is not as energetic. But to save Espresso from that, because this is supposed to be more of a sit-down dialogue, Espresso is going to have a little more, you know, a little more pep in its step. It's called Espresso. So I'm gonna drink some espresso before I go shoot it, and I'm gonna wait a little bit, and I might bump some more Kanye. And so it's just really being, you know, don't be romantic about like, oh, I've only got 4 hours to get this done. You know, I have to get this done in like such amount of time, because I have spent far too long trying to tell myself that I can get everything done in this amount of time. Look at time and figure it out. Like, literally, I don't want to be shooting with her here, but I am because I need to get it done. And like, what are you doing right now?
I'm playing a solitaire game.
She's playing solitaire. Like, literally, like I've been in here for an hour and a half talking to the sit-down camera and the audio experience, which I thank you guys for watching, and it means a lot that you're here. But it is also from a filmmaker's perspective, from actually creating the content, it's different. It's, you know, I mean, like you've got to carve out the time and be okay with making mistakes. Like if this video, if I'm actually recording for 17 minutes by accident, then it's not, you have to be okay with that. You have to, and if you know, if tomorrow's not the day where you've got that kind of time, don't try to squash in a batch production in your 4 hours. Don't do it. I mean, if you've got, you know, 3 videos to make, sure, 4 hours is enough. But, I mean, depending on the kind of video. But it really is about know yourself, know your environment, know your distractions. Like, you carefully plan it, and then just execute. And it sounds like really like nose in the air to say carefully plan and then execute, but that is literally the entire secret to batch production. Figure out everything you need for one video, scale it, boom. Yeah. Thanks for watching. See you guys, like, what is it, Friday? See you guys on Monday. Peace.